Hey guys, welcome back to the Lo-Fi Film Lounge. Glad you can make it into my little corner of the internet. Today I am so excited because it is officially Halloween. But wait, something doesn't feel quite right. I know. Now that's what I'm talking about. Guys, I am a huge fan of Halloween, and I am an even bigger fan of horror movies, Halloween movies, whatever you want to call them. I am a huge enthusiast. If you watched my last video, you will know I am an avid lover of all things horror. So today I figured we could talk about something that's very subjective. Again, this is the Lo-Fi Film Lounge where we try to welcome in as many differing opinions as possible. But today we're going to talk about the top 10 movies that have scared me the most and that I believe are the scariest movies to me personally. Again, fear is very subjective. I am absolutely 100% confident that you're going to look at movies on my list and think that I am a complete idiot for being scared by them. That's okay though. Again, this is just my opinions and thoughts and my own personal experiences. Some of these movies I'm sure I thought were terrifying because of the time that I saw them. And then when I watch the movies nowadays, it kind of brings me back to those old feelings and everything like that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this thing. I'm excited and started things off with number 10. Okay, so number 10 is a little movie called Signs by M. Night Shyamalan. And one thing to know about me is I am a huge fan of like alien, invasion movies, things of that nature. I just find them really fascinating and to an extent pretty scary too. When I was a kid, I was really into reading like UFO-ology books and crazy stuff like that. I was just like really obsessed as a child with this kind of stuff. So anyways, going back to Signs, yeah, I just think that the whole idea of this alien invasion happening kind of in the background of the whole movie, like it's not front and center like a lot of other movies like this. You think of like War of the Worlds or something. Very much not like an action movie. It's this very realistic feeling, and I always thought that was eerie. The scene where the one character sees like the foot under the door, or the one scene everyone talks about with the newsreel where the alien runs by the kid's birthday party. Like to me, I always thought it was terrifying, and I thought to myself, if there was ever going to be, a real alien invasion, it would probably look something like this, where, it's kind of things that are happening around you, but not quite in your face, right? It's all very much like the aliens are here, covertly, if you will. And there's just something eerie, about the world as you know it being taken over by creatures that you can't even see, So yeah, I don't know. Something about it always freaked me out. I thought the designs of the aliens were pretty creepy. I know some people like to crap on them nowadays, but Signs is a movie I love and hold near and dear to my heart, and it absolutely is a movie that freaked me out a lot as a kid. All right, number 9 is going to be Jordan Peele's Nope, which is personally one of my favorite films of all time. Maybe that's controversial, probably is, but I don't even care. I absolutely love the movie. It's not really that scary for most of it. Again, going back to my alien fanatic self. But really it boils down to that one scene, and if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. I guess quick spoiler alert, but when the UFO sucks in all of those people, you know the scene. It is so uncomfortable and terrifying. And I went and saw this film when it came out with a couple of friends in theaters, and we all just had the same reaction, this very like guttural, like skin feeling hot and just like, oh God, what is happening? So yeah, just for that scene alone, it makes it onto this list. The rest of the movie, it's very, I would say eerie, uneasy, but by and large, I wouldn't really call it a horror movie through and through. Again, it is kind of like a horror thriller, I'd say, mix. Love the movie though, and that one scene, it'll it'll really get to you. All right, number 8. So this is actually a favorite of mine. This is going to be The Ring remake. Yes, I am one of those people that absolutely loves the remake. I know there's quite a few people who do love this movie, but then there's also just as many people who hate it, and will swear by the original. I absolutely love Gore Verbinski's version of The Ring. I think it's just very, again, like eerie. The atmosphere makes you very uneasy. The one jump scare near the beginning is like one of the best jump scares in any movie I've ever seen, really. It's like so unexpected and terrifying, and it's over like that. Very, very like memorable. That's like ingrained in my head. And yeah, again, just like kind of the visuals of the film itself, like the actual Ring videotape itself, to even like Samara as a character and like her design is just very unnerving to look at. I just think like it's a great horror film, really great atmosphere, great acting, great, design for our main villain. Yeah, I absolutely love The Ring, and I absolutely do think it's one of the scarier movies that I've ever seen. Number 7 is gonna be a movie that I have not seen in a little while, but I remember so vividly when I watched it for the first time, I was terrified. And that's gonna be the movie Lights Out. Again, I am so sure that some of you have seen this movie and are thinking to me, Gavin, you're an idiot. That movie's not scary at all. Listen, man, I just remember watching it when it came out and I was terrified. I don't know, just the idea of this creature that can only move around in darkness, right? And like, I just remember like the opening scene with the guy in the warehouse was like very unnerving to me. And like, there's a scene where like later in the movie where like nothing's there, lights turn out, then you see the creature. Like, I don't know. I think there was a lot in that movie that was very well done. And again, I think more so just like the premise of the film maybe was scarier than like, the film itself or like kind of the things that happen in the movie. Again, I could totally see people watching that movie and just not being affected at all. But for me, like for whatever reason, it really got under my skin. And to this day, like when I think of scariest movies of all time, like I'll always think of the movie Lights Out. All right, number 6 is going to be another Jordan Peele film. I'm a huge fan of Jordan Peele, if you can't tell. And that's going to be the movie Us. So I like all of Jordan Peele's movies, but in particular, I like Nope and Get Out more than Us. I think they're better movies, but to me, I think Us is the scariest movie that Peele has ever made. It's just, again, I go back to unnerving. It just makes you uncomfortable. That's the kind of things that scare me, right? So I watch a lot of horror movies. Typically I watch them alone at night because my wife wants nothing to do with horror movies. And like 9 times out of 10, I'm just unaffected. And most of the time I'm really entertained by horror, right? Not so much scared. But going back to Us, it's just, I just remember specifically the scene where the doppelganger family is out in their driveway literally terrified me. Absolutely terrified me. Like, what is scarier than like being out in a house in the middle of nowhere, looking outside and seeing 4 people just standing in your driveway that look exactly like your own family? Like, that's freaky, dude. That's freaky. Yeah, I think the Lupita Nyong'o's performance is so good, so unsettling. Oh my God. She's an incredible actress anyway, but I think she steals the show in that movie. And yeah, just kind of like a lot of the visual language of that film is very much meant to like put you in this uneasy state. Like there's copies of you and they're not acting like normal people, right? And it's just off and weird and quirky. And I know a lot of people have a lot of issues with the film. It's definitely Peele's most flawed film in my opinion, but I still really enjoy it and I still really like the fact that it makes me uncomfortable. Number 5 is going to be the newest film on this list, if I'm not mistaken, and it's going to be Osgood Perkins' Longlegs. So Longlegs is a movie that I watched for the first time this year, and I absolutely loved it. So good. I just think that the visuals, the way that it's shot and the set design, the colors that it uses, so good. I think the performances from Micah Monroe and Nicolas Cage are incredible. I'm a huge fan of Nicolas Cage. So, but truly, this movie did get to me. And I really think it's because a lot of the first half is very realistic, right? Serial killer type storytelling. I just remember specifically the scene where Micah Monroe's character is at her house all alone in the middle of the woods, by the way. I just wouldn't catch me there. And she thinks she sees something outside. She goes out to investigate, and then then she realizes someone has gotten into her house. Like, that is just, oh no. If that ever happened to me, I'd be out of there. I'd be hopping in the car and out of there, baby. I'm not dealing with that. But yeah, just the idea, like, throughout the movie that she's like being watched, right? And she can never quite tell if there is someone there. And then, kind of some of the supernatural elements that come into play later in the movie. I don't know, it freaked me out. I just remember thinking, like, dang, if I was in this situation, I would be freaking terrified. So yeah, I loved Longlegs. And it's definitely one of the scary movies that I've ever seen. That's probably such a crazy take, but again, this is just my own opinions. Everyone is entitled to their own. So yeah. So number 4 is going to be probably the most surprising movie on this list. And that's going to be Blair Witch, the remake, not the original. So maybe some of you just clicked off the video for me saying that. But what I'll say is I've seen the original movie and I really like it. I think it's really good. I know a lot of people have retroactively gone back to it and said that it's like not good. I don't agree with that. I think it's a really great film for what it is and what it's going for. But there's something about the remake that is just, again, very unsettling. Like, these characters go out into the woods. They're, looking for, I think it's the main character's sister from like the original movie, I guess. I'm having some haze there right now, but yeah, so they go out in the woods and they're looking for this person, and just weird things that start happening. Again, it's just like, if I was in this situation, I would be so scared being out in the woods in the middle of nowhere, getting lost in the middle of the night. You hear weird noises, you see some weird stuff start to happen around you. And eventually when they get into the house, like, it's over. And I think, even though this is probably controversial, but when you like see the creature, yeah, I was like, oh nah. I thought the design was really good. I know a lot of people like the fact, myself included, like the fact that the creature was never shown in the original film. They kind of left a lot up to interpretation. I don't hate the way they did it in the remake. And also just the film, the one scene where the girl is like crawling through the tunnel is like the most claustrophobic I've ever felt while watching a movie. So yeah, again, it's just one of those movies that made me just feel like really uncomfortable. And speaking of feeling uncomfortable, oh guys, can we talk about Eraserhead for a second? If this was a top 10 most disturbing films, or films that disturb me the most, Eraserhead would probably be number 1, realistically. It's not like scary in the traditional sense. I describe Eraserhead as like you're watching someone's nightmare, right? It's like somebody has found a way to record a person's nightmare and just put it on the screen. That's what it feels like, because a lot of it is very like nonsensical. Strange things happen, and like certain like characters like won't really react to the unrealistic things that are happening, the fantastical like elements of the movie. And along with that, it's like these strange, weird visuals that like already get you uneasy. But then like the whole thing with like the baby and like the design of it is just so unnerving. And I'll never forget, I don't even like talking about this scene because it always makes me so uncomfortable when I get the mental image. But the scene where the baby is like sick, and it physically has like all of this like illness on it. It is literally so disgusting and makes me feel so icky every time I think about that scene. I hate it. But yeah, so just like the whole film, puts you in this kind of state of mind of like, just anything could happen and you never know what to expect. And it's like you have no control, right? Like a nightmare. You just are in this experience and things are happening to you. That's kind of how I felt after watching it. But Yeah, so Eraserhead is a crazy movie. I'd recommend it if you want to just watch something that's absolutely out there. I mean, it's David Lynch being David Lynch. It's his first film. Um, it's definitely worth watching at least once. So number 2 is going to be the movie that I would have said for the longest time is the scariest movie of all time to me personally. And I know I'm going to get some hate for this, but again, I really hope that we can all just accept each other's opinions and, welcome each other's differences here. Paranormal Activity. I was terrified of this movie. There's no other way around it. Like, I watched it for the first time, I don't know, when I was like, I want to say 13 years old maybe. And a little bit of backstory about myself is I grew up being a very nervous and like scared child. I would never in a million years at that point in my life thought that I would like horror movies. I was just too scared of like everything around me. So yeah, and then eventually I kind of like watched some gateway horror movies and grew to really love the genre. And then I saw Paranormal Activity pretty early on in that journey, and it just like scarred me, dude. I think it's the fact that it is like found footage and it's shot to be so like realistic, and a lot of people complain that the movie is like basically boring and nothing happens all the way up until like the last 15 to 20 minutes. I can totally see that, and if you're not like invested in the film, I could absolutely understand why people would think it's boring. But to me, like again, it's all in service of making the film feel very realistic. So by the time that, like throughout the movie, all these weird things are happening. By the time you reach the end, it's just terrifying, like so scary. It's like, I feel like this could actually happen, or like this did actually happen to someone. And that was just so scary to me. I also had watched the alternate ending as well. Also very scary, I thought. I kind of like both, I don't have like a preference one over the other, but I will say the alternate ending, like look it up on YouTube or something, it's pretty unnerving. But yeah, I think Paranormal Activity is terrifying. I know a lot of people don't think that, but it freaked me out for a while. And finally, number 1, my personal pick for the scariest movie of all time. It's Hereditary. Maybe that's a basic answer, but let me give you some backstory on this. So again, I'm a huge fan of horror, and I have just gone through so many movies. I've looked up multiple articles and videos, scariest movies of all time, top 10 most disturbing movies of all time, and I'll watch them because I'm very interested in experiencing those films. And so, I've watched things like The Exorcist, The Blair Witch Project, The Conjuring, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And these are all films that I like, I enjoy, and I respect, but none of them really like scared me. Again, I watch these movies like by myself at night, and like I am entertained by them, but I'm not necessarily like scared or like thinking about them after the fact. And Hereditary, of course, comes up on all of those lists. And so going into it, I just thought to myself, okay, like here we go, another one of those movies that everyone says is the scariest movie of all time. Like, yeah, I'm sure it is. And then I watched it, and I don't think I could sleep for like the next 2 nights. I thought that Hereditary was absolutely bone chilling. And the cool thing about it is that it's also just a really well made like family drama. Like a lot of it is, this family like working through trauma and grief, and kind of how each one of the family members is responding to this very traumatic event that happens to them. And it's all very well done. I mean, freaking Toni Collette absolutely should have won an Oscar, or at least been nominated that year. I mean, it's an absolute crime that she wasn't acknowledged in any way, but yeah, she's phenomenal. Everyone knows that. But when it comes to like the actual like scariness of the film, I just thought that it's so unnerving. Again, I've used that word probably 3,000 times in this video, but like truly this film has just made me so uncomfortable and scared. I'm of the opinion that the scariest thing a film can do is be subtle, right? And maybe even be unexpected. So I'm not talking about like jump scares with loud noises and all that. Like that doesn't scare me. Like sure, I can, get frightened in the moment or jump or whatever. But then after the fact, I'm like, okay, it's over. Like that's no long lasting effect for me most of the time. But in this film, there are so many shots of just eerie, terrifying things with no music, no sound, and no cuts, right? You just look, you just see it, and you're there for so long. And it's so absolutely just, again, bone chilling is the word I would use. The whole ending sequence, if you haven't seen the film, I'd highly recommend watching it. Go into it knowing it's very terrifying. A little bit of a spoiler ahead though, but just the part where Toni Collette is like in the corner of the room, and then she like kind of like weirdly crawls in through the air. I don't know. I just got goosebumps, like absolute chills running down my arms, my spine, all my hair standing up on end. Like it was so scary. Where she's trying to like get into the attic and she's like on the ceiling, like banging her head. Like I was just like, dude, this movie needs to end. This movie needs to end because I can't take much more of this. And yeah, it was just one of those movies that after the fact, I literally went to bed that night like just looking at the corners in the room and was just so like scared. So yeah, I think Hereditary not only is an extremely well-made film, well-directed, well-acted, but it's also just taps into a side of horror that actually scares me. And I feel like it's, scares a lot of people because so many people have had the same reaction to it. But yeah, that would definitely, in my opinion, right now with the movies that I have seen, be the scariest movie that I've ever seen. But yeah, that's, my top 10 films that I think are the scariest. Definitely leave some comments. Let me know what kind of films that you guys think are the scariest of all time. And if you think that any of the movies that I've seen aren't scary at all, let me know that too. I'm open to all opinions, and I just want to get some discussion going. But I really appreciate you guys tuning into this video. I'm really excited to be making more Halloween scary season content going forward. Again, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for stopping by the lounge, and I'll catch you next time.